Hello. Once again I come before you as a representative of the Illuminati. You may call me the man. Before I get going, what do you think? What do you think of the haircut? A little quarantine haircut. Looks pretty good, right? Huh? No, I didn't sneak out to some undercover barbershop, whatever. No, this was done by the woman. Yeah. It's amazing what you can do, when you're in quarantine. You got a lot of time to kill, and you got some YouTube videos and some scissors and a comb, and yeah. I like it. I think it turned out great. Just a little, it's not what the video's about, but just a little peek behind the curtain. We're all on this together. We're not sneaking around doing stuff that you can't do. I promise. I think she did a great job. Yeah, kept me from going crazy and, putting camo on and grabbing my airsoft gun and going down to the state capitol so they could open up the barbershops. But that, like I said, this is not what the video is about. The video is about catching up a little bit. Now, I admit I've let things slide a bit, okay? The gaps between videos have been larger and larger, and most of that's my fault. However, sometimes, like in this case, I can't really tell you what we're up to until it's played out. I don't want other people to know. Some people watch this channel. Most of you guys are fine. Some people who watch this channel do it to get inside information. And so I can't let them have that until after things have kind of played out. So I think we're far enough beyond the event now to talk about it. And of course, right after the impeachment of Donald Trump, which is what the video is about. If you read the title, you already know that. Right after that, I went on vacation, then I came back, and this whole COVID-19 thing happened, and so hey, let's talk about it. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what it was not about first, though. It was not about removing Donald Trump from office. Never in the history of the United States has a president been successfully removed from office through impeachment. Never. There have been successful impeachments, but there has never been a successful removal. Nixon doesn't count, he resigned. So, yeah, that's not what it was about. We knew we weren't going to be able to remove him, that you'd have to have a certain number of dominoes all lined up a certain way for that to happen. And in this case, the dominoes are all over the board, so that, no, it didn't, that wasn't what it was about. What it was about was pressure. A little more pressure. That's all we were trying to do. So I'm sure you're asking yourself, but why? Why would you want to put pressure on President Trump? And it's not so really Trump that's the problem. It's not really him. It was... Okay, so as long-time viewers of the channel know, quick recap. I'm sorry, you're going to have to hang out for this. This is for the new people. Okay, so Donnie Trump is actually the host of an alien ambassador from the Vril Docs, and he was playing a character for us. We put him up to it. We asked him to play a character named Donald J. Trump that was kind of a populist, says whatever he thinks, speaks from the hip kind of thing, offends a lot of people, just to see if the American people were beyond voting for that kind of person. And it turned out they were not. And so, right when he was about to take office, there was a little incident in Mar-a-Lago where a golf ball hit him right in the head, and the ambassador was damaged, and so was he. The ambassador, if I didn't mention it during this little recap, is actually a creature from the Vril Docs whose appearance is that of hair. And that's why the hair on Donald Trump's head doesn't look quite right, doesn't look quite human. It's a little different. And yeah, that's an alien ambassador. And he's been hosting this thing for decades. I mean, he's been a great ambassador from our people to their people. And then boom, damage. And so we couldn't move against him. I mean, he was the duly elected president of the United States. That's one reason. And secondly, his whole body was basically an embassy. It is actually sovereign territory of the Vril Docs. And so the Vril Docs decided that, we're going to come up with our own solution. And at the same time, you guys just kind of guard him and, keep him from making too many impulsive mistakes, because they knew he was going to be very impulsive after that. And in the meantime, we'll come up with a solution. You guys work on the solution, but you can't remove him from office. You can't do it. And so we were not allowed to do that without risking some sort of war. When you go to war with the Vril Docs, have you ever been to the ocean and you come back and there's sand everywhere, or even more appropriate, have you ever walked out in public and then you look over in your shoulder and there's like a hair that's laying on your shoulder, but it's not your hair because it's not the same color? You got somebody else's hair. You're like, how did that even get here? Well, imagine that by like 16 billion, just like everywhere, just in everything. It's hard to shoot hair. I mean, I don't know if you... Anyway, it could be complicated, and we just decided not to do the whole thing. We just wanted to like peacefully take our place among the stars one day, and we don't want to like tick everybody off. So we were like, okay, fine. We'll put little bumpers up. You ever been bowling, with a kid? You put the bumpers up so the balls don't go into the gutter. Now, admittedly, sometimes his impulsivity, it outraces us and we can't hit against the bumper. But sometimes, most of the time, we've been able to keep him in the alley, at least going in the right direction. It's been difficult, but we've been able to do it. So, here we are, further down the road. We get to the Mueller investigation. Why is it Mueller? Why isn't it Mueller? I will never understand. Why is it? Anyway, the Mueller investigation. Now, you guys know, who watch the channel, there are two reports. There's a report that went out in the public, and there's the report that we got. And in the report that we got, we found that there might be just a little bit, just a hair's width, because a hair's width of a crack, a schism being formed between Donnie and the Real Docs ambassador. And the character of Donald J. Trump was starting to make, this sounds more like Donnie. This sounds more like the ambassador. Maybe they're starting to come apart. Maybe all we need is a little bit of pressure. And so we did it. We cranked up the pressure. Now, for a regular human being, an adult human being, you go through certain things in life. As you grow up from a kid, sometimes other kids are cruel. Sometimes other adults are cruel to kids. And so, as you grow up, you develop kind of a thicker skin, especially if you're a politician. If you're a politician, people say horrible things about you constantly, all the time, about you and your family and your dog and what your family does with your dog and your dog doesn't, just stuff, just all over and over and over again. And you develop this really hard skin. So when you start yelling at a politician, most of the time they're sitting there going, how can I use this? I mean, because they're not even listening to the insult anymore. How can I use this to play off to benefit what I'm trying to do? That's what happens, right? But if you're a brain-damaged ambassador to the Real Docs, who's not exactly in control of his impulses, well, that stuff hurts. It does. I mean, it hurt him. So we had like 3 months where everybody just told Donald Trump what a horrible president he was. I mean, just a terrible, terrible, terrible president. I mean, just awful, all the way through. You were bad because of this and that and the other and obstruction of justice and all this kind of stuff. And then maybe some personal insults that got thrown in there from Pelosi and Schumer, but over and over and over again. And it worked. It absolutely worked. It was great. Of course, we knew the Republicans were going to stop it in the Senate, all this kind of stuff. That wasn't the point. The point was the pressure was applied, and then one day, Donald Trump got up, and he walked down the halls of the White House, and all of this was gone. Completely bald. So you're probably wondering, hey, how come he's not bald now? Well, that was one of the stipulations that we had to actually give in to the Real Docs. When we ran our plan by them, they said, sure, but you have to replace the old ambassador with a new ambassador. And so he has a new, fully functioning Real Docs ambassador attached to him. Now, it takes a while for the bonding to work. Sometimes it takes months because the new ambassador is kind of stable. If he was the old ambassador, well, we'll get into that in just a minute. Anyway, but the new guy, he's very stable. So it takes a while for those roots to kind of really get in and start, seeing who this character is or who this person is. Who's Donnie, who's Donald J. Trump, that kind of thing. But there's an excellent influence happening. It's starting to take in. You may notice it in the briefings where he's like, hey guys, here are the experts, listen to them, kind of stuff. That's great. The old guy wouldn't have done that. The new guy does that kind of stuff. Now, he still goes a little off the rails. But that's basically because, those connections are slow. He's being pulled back. He's just not all the way back. And of course, if you filter everything that Donald Trump says through one little filter, you will understand him greatly. You'll understand him better than anybody has ever understood anybody. And that's a very Donald Trump statement, kind of statement to make. So if you just have to look at Donald Trump and say, he sees himself not as President of the United States, not as the leader of the free world, quote unquote. No, Donald Trump sees himself as the host of a television program. The greatest television program to ever exist, with the highest ratings ever. And he wants those ratings to keep going up, 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 so he will say the most outrageous things, he will do whatever he wants to do. But his whole point is saying, I'm the host. I'm here to put the press, the mean, fake news, together with the experts, let them talk a little bit, and then I'm going to ask them questions that can then kind of like bounce off the other guys, and they can respond to stuff. So like the whole thing about the injecting disinfectant, when he asked the experts, maybe we can work on something that can inject the disinfectant into the body where it kills the virus in 1 minute, kind of stuff like that. He wasn't actually suggesting that you go do that, and I hope to God you didn't. No, what he's trying to say is, well, let's run this idea and see what the experts think. And of course the experts then piped up and said, nah, it's probably not a good idea. And he's like, oh, okay. So then it moves on. But no, he's not suggesting that people drink bleach or do whatever. He's trying to be the host. He's trying to say, well, this is the thing that maybe we should ask them about. It just occurred to me, I just heard disinfectant and 1 minute killed. So let's ask them, would that work? So as the host, of course, he has to direct things along. That's why he's stuck with the cure cannot be worse than the disease kind of stuff. The things that he says over and over and over again. That's the theme of that episode. So if you start to filter that through that, you'll see that's what he sees the world as. And with the new guy being a subtle influence right now, later on, of course, as the connections grow, he actually may just like snap out of it completely. We're hoping. Anyway, yeah, that's the plan. But if even the influence is there, just kind of filter through that. He's just trying to be the best host he knows how to be. Get the best ratings, and of course sometimes it means you got to say things that are outrageous. Well, then he'll just be happy to do that. So it was a win. It was a win. And then it wasn't. Because we just figured the old ambassador just kind of went somewhere else, and he maybe crawled under a bush and died or something, or he got stuck at camshaft in an airplane, or whatever. He just disappeared, right? Until he reappeared, and he reappeared on Boris Johnson's head. Immediately, he just dug his roots into Boris, and suddenly Boris is like even more reactionary than usual, in a time when you don't need reactionary kind of leadership. You need clear, concise, measured leadership. And so that's why Boris, during this whole pandemic thing, at first was like, no, we can do the herd immunity, and no, we don't need to close things down, and no, I'm going to hug people and shake hands, and I'm still doing it. And then, of course, he got COVID-19, and he almost died. But, hey, with that gray cloud, it turns out there was a silver lining, because once he got better, he became more measured. And we've been to England. We've done the tests, and we found out that it stabilized the hormones between the two of them. It was remarkable. It was COVID-19. That's all it needed. It was just kind of like this almost close to death experience. Maybe it was a hypoxia, maybe not getting enough oxygen or something. It stabilized him. So now Boris is host to a perfectly fine Real Docs, who used to be the brain damage Real Docs that's on Donald Trump's head. And I know what you're thinking. Maybe we should give it a No, stop it. That stuff it's dangerous, especially for somebody who's as old as Donald. We do not kill people. I know that you keep thinking that we do. The Illuminati's killing everything, Tupac, blah, blah. No, we don't kill people. If we killed people, Betty White would be dead. And Betty White is still alive. And she knows why she would die. She knows why she would die. But we don't do that. So that's just the way it is. No, we in the Illuminati are all about leading our entire species to take its place amongst the stars, amongst all these aliens and whatnot, and all this trouble that we're going through, and all these heartaches that we have to endure and such, where we just can't it'd just be so easy, just rip that thing off his head and just, no. All that stuff that we do, we show the wider world, the universe, who we are, what our character is, and how we are maturing as a species. So that one day, both on this planet and the planets that we also, I wouldn't say conquer, but move on to. Conquer's got a bad connotation, and rightly so. But we all move on to and take our place in. We will find ourselves in a much larger and kinder and gentler world. That's the whole vision. And of course, if you watch this channel, you know that. And you know that you also can be part of that. You can leave a comment in the comment section below. You can hit like. You can subscribe if you wish. If you like 15-20 minutes of your time every month or so wasted by some guy standing here telling you exactly what's happening in the world, well, then you can subscribe to that. And, maybe these updates will be a lot more frequent now that things kind of are starting to slow down, or maybe there's a huge second or third wave coming. But we're working on it. We're trying to get there. We're trying to make everybody as good as they possibly can be, and you can have a part of that. You can do the subscription thing I mentioned below, and when you walk outside your house, you can look up and look up there in the sky, and you see all those chemtrails blazing up there. Why, we in the Illuminati would just suggest that you relax and breathe deeply.